Well, good morning and welcome to www.theupliftlive.com here on a Saturday morning here in the great city of Dallas, Texas. And we welcome you once again to the brand new best gospel station here in Dallas, Fort Worth, www.theupliftlive.com. Allow me to introduce myself. My name's Robert Ashley, a long-time semi-retired journalist here in the Dallas, Fort Worth area. I've been working in the gospel community, the secular community for well over 30 years, covering news here in Dallas Fort Worth. Well, once again, it's a very, very interesting particular weekend here. We're getting ready to celebrate the holiday, the national holiday for the drum major for justice, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And also, we're starting off a brand new year, and we're scheduled to check in with one of our local physicians, a doctor, who is going to talk to us about health. And also, we'll get some comments too about Damar Hamlin. This is the young football player with the Buffalo Bills, who we all had a chance to watch that Monday Night Football game, and of course, covering his very, very tragic but yet triumphant story. We understand that this week that young man was released from the hospital in Cincinnati, made his way back to Buffalo, and his recovery, according to many of our pastors, is just a miracle from God. Now, some people might want to look at his recovery as remarkable, but others say, well, no, this is a miracle from God, and that God responds to the prayers of the righteous. As this young man basically, literally, his heart stopped beating right there on the field and had to be revived at least twice. And technically, when you look at that, I can now understand the emotion of a lot of those football players, because to think that a fellow teammate or a fellow participant in an athletic event has literally technically died on the field. That is shocking. We have never seen anything like this before in professional sports, I don't believe, but we'd have to go back and look into history to see exactly what is going on there. But Damar Hamlin, we thank God for this young man, and we thank God for answering the prayers of the righteous. And it should be a signal to those who still believe in prayer that God is on the throne and he will never, never, never leave us alone. Now, also, we're scheduled to have kind of a reporters roundtable there, if you will. I got a journalist or two that's going to be joining us, and one of our major civil rights leaders going to talk about the Black agenda as we get 2023 literally started, talking about the Black agenda there, if you will. Now, many of you know that the state legislature here in the state of Texas, the legislative session is indeed underway. We have so much that's going on in Washington, D.C. with regards to classified documents being found with regards to the current president of the United States. And then, of course, the former president, Donald Trump, home raided classified documents. But the big question is, what in the world, what's in these documents? Do the American people have a right to know what's in those documents, or is it a matter of national security? And of course, when you think about former President Barack Obama, now, believe it or not, these Republicans will probably be coming after the former president in light of the fact that the classified documents that the current President Joe Biden had in his possession while he was vice president, technically speaking, legally, he did not have the right to have classified documents like that. And the question now is going to be placed upon Mr. Obama. Now, Mr. Obama, did you allow your vice president to have classified documents laying around in a garage where his Corvette was parked? But either way it goes. Now, also, the Trump organization, the courts pretty much on yesterday ruled that the former president must pay about $1.7 million in terms of his organization and how they engaged in all types of schemes and things of that sort in terms of the Trump organization. Now, they really came after the former president, but somehow or another, the CEO of the Trump organization lined up having to cop a plea. And of course, the Trump organization will be fined at least $1.7 million for all sorts of alleged hanky-panky when it comes down to running business. But either way it goes, we're going to continue to watch all this stuff that's going on with the former president, our current president, as we continue to ask you indeed to be prayerful. But once again, Dr. Dralvis Edwards is expected to be joining us. When he comes on screen, we'll go ahead and talk with him. Now, also a couple of homekeeping things that we'd like to do there, of course, is Dr. Dralvis Edwards. And of course, he's a great, great man of God and a medical doctor. He's kind of a modern day Luke when you think about Luke in the Bible, a physician, a man of God. Now, real quickly, we want to congratulate Duncanville High School. They had a big parade in Duncanville last night because Duncanville, the state 6A champions, they actually won that championship game. And the parade was just last night. We continue to salute them as we do South Oak Cliff in terms of athletic prowess. And keep in mind now, if indeed you're going to be athletic and have that kind of prowess, you have to do it academically there as well. And also, we understand that several cities will be stepping off with their Martin Luther King parades today. Now, we understand the city of Dallas will have theirs coming up on Monday. The city of Fort Worth will also have theirs coming up on Monday, stepping off at the convention center. And in Fort Worth, in Dallas, all the activities will be around the convention center. But right now I have with me Dr. Dralvis Edwards, and I have known Dr. Dralvis Edwards a couple of centuries here, it seems, or maybe even more. And good morning, doctor. How are you this Saturday morning? How are you, sir? All right, we're gonna have to get the doctor to unmute yourself. Check your microphone there, Doc, because I can see you.
Okay, is that better?
Oh, that's much better, Doc. But man, good to see you here on a Saturday morning, Doc. How are you?
Fine, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, we're blessed and highly favored here at Ashley Estates. And once again, we want to welcome you to www.theupliftlive.com. You know, when Heaven 97 KHVN kind of went away and left a big void in our community regarding gospel music and talk shows and information. And we now have a new online station here, Doc, and we're just so honored to have you on with us this morning. And first of all, Doc, introduce yourself. I mean, some may remember when you were a pastor in this community. Now you're a medical doctor. You're even working in ER. Man, you're just doing so much. And also want to say hello and good morning to your family. Your wife, who we worked with when you all were pastors and first lady, but Doc, bring us up to speed. And also, you're a former football player. When I had a chance to tour your clinic, I didn't know you were a wide receiver, man.
Well, I was came up from a small town in East Texas, and a little small town called Tatum, Texas. And of course, we lived in the country, and we only had one light, and so we were, I'm a country boy by heart, and had a chance to. I wanted to say this. I've been selected to the Hall of Fame here in Texas as one of the football players from Tatum High School. Actually, it was Mayflower High School at that time, and they'll be honoring me in June in Houston. For this, and I just wanted to. I've always just wanted to be the best I could be, and when I take on a task, usually I'll give it 100%, or I won't take it on. Normally, that's just kind of the way I am, and so
yes,
I met you a few weeks ago, and so we've been colleagues for almost 30 years now. I think that 1983, 84, something along that line. And so I've always wanted to be the best at whatever I did. And medicine is something that I've always wanted to do. And I never changed my major either. When I played college football, I was a biology major and chemistry minor. So I would have to study as we traveled from team to team and stuff like that. But I opened a urgent care clinic here in right down the street from South Oak Cliff on Marsalis and Ann Arbor. About 7 months ago, we started to work on it in 2020 during the pandemic, and we're about 8 months now. And I'm just excited for the community that I can be a part of the solution to the problems, particularly the health problems and disparities that they run into in this zip code. This zip code is one of the worst diabetic zip codes in the United States. When you take the number of people in a zip code, this is one of the worst diabetic zip codes in the United States. Now, the problem with that is that diabetes, the 5 top reasons people are admitted to the hospital, diabetes is tied to all 5 of them. So, we wanted to come in and see if we could be a beacon light to this community. And at almost 72 years old, I had no business going into a venture like this, but I feel like that, that God has orchestrated this for such a time as this. And I just wanted to be obedient to his word.
Yes, sir. Once again, we're talking here with Dr. Dralvis Edwards. Of course, Dr. Edwards, of course, the owner-operator of the Marsalis Avenue Emergency or Urgent Care Center. We're going to tell you a little bit more about this. And once again, this is in an area that's the Glendale Shopping Center. right down from South Oak Cliff High School. Now this area of the city, you said it's one of the highest areas for diabetes. Is it one of the poorest areas of our community as well when it comes to the income?
Well, um, they usually go hand in hand. This is now, one of the more affluent neighborhoods, and this the adjoining areas as well. The other zip code 75215, 75217. They are all also highly inundated with diabetics and the complication that goes along with the diabetes. I wanted to just make one point before I forget it, that in Dallas County, there are only 40, there are actually 41 hospitals, and 39 of those are north of the Trinity and only 2 south of the Trinity. So even if you look at this, that's not a great ratio at all to have 1 million people in 2 hospitals and 1,000,002 people with 39 hospitals. So we have more dialysis center in Oak Cliff, Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill than we have medical schools and hospital combined. So somebody has to step forth, and I thought that I would do that, and I was happy to do it, and I've actually been very blessed to be here, and so that's kind of what we wanted to do for the community.
And is it called the Marsalis Avenue Urgent Care Center? Is it Emergency Care Center?
No, it's urgent care.
Urgent Care Center. All right. Now this is in the Glendale Shopping Center, and you're right down the street from a Pan-African bookstore, and you're in the heart of the African American community. And with those numbers you just gave us, Doc, that's such a disparity in terms of north and south of the Trinity. Why they got so many hospitals in North Dallas where we only have 2 in South Dallas?
Well, we've gone over this over the years, the disparity and the discrimination in the healthcare industry. The institution itself is a racially discriminated institution. It's a white male dominated profession. They set the tone, and what they believe is important to them is what they're going to do. And so often we just don't have the wherewithal to challenge this huge system. Now, I'm not against healthcare, as you well know.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I wouldn't be in it, but the way that the structure is set up to make sure that we get the minimum amount of coverage with the conditions that we have, many times multiple conditions, along with high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, maybe sometimes cancer. So we don't have people at the forefront who fights for the equity that we deserve.
Yes,
and
indeed.
So we have these agendas that tend to seemingly to me politicians are not as acute about what needs to take place, and if they know there's not a lot of energy that goes into making that come to fruition. So we have to, as doctors, we have to kind of step up. One of the problems that we have, Robert, is the reimbursement of the public insurances like Medicaid and Medicare.
Yes,
they are different in zip code. The zip code you're in, you are going to get less if you're in a poor zip code, and you're going to get more for the same service, treated for the same condition in a more affluent neighborhood.
Yes,
and so that kind of goes along with how America has, been set up to have a differential in how they take care of us, how they pay for it. And over time, doctors just can't stay in business because a whole lot of other things. The rent structure goes up, the malpractice insurance goes up. So when you continue to take this 10 to 12 to 15% less for treating the same disease, you just can't stay in business. And
Right.
so that's kind of one of the errors that I don't really like about it.
Well, Doc, once again, if you're just now joining us here, you're listening to www.theupliftlive.com, which is the 24-hour online gospel radio station coming out of Dallas, Texas. I'm Robert Ashley, and right now you're watching The Review, which, of course, is a 2-hour, about an hour and a half talk show that we do each and every Saturday morning right here. And once again, be sure to tell a friend about our radio station, www.theupliftlive.com, 24-hour gospel station, where we have ministry, music, news. We have the whole nine here. And once again, we're honored to have with us this morning Dr. Dralvis Edwards. Dr. Edwards, a longtime doctor in the community, and he's one of these doctors. I can imagine you are a kind of a Charles Drew in the spirit of a Charles Drew, or maybe some of these doctors like Dr. Mason back in the day, who really cared for the African American community. And you have the Marsalis Urgent Care Clinic. And once again, everybody, this is right there in the Glendale Shopping Center. And Doc, we just thank you so much for making that kind of commitment, because you could have been up in Frisco, you could have been anywhere with medical facilities. And when I first met you, Doc, you were speaking at Commissioner John Watty Price's Tuesday luncheon, and that was almost 20 years ago, or even more possibly. And you were talking about the two-tiered medical system back at that time, as if there was a medical system set aside for blacks and a medical system set aside for whites. But when President Barack Obama came forth with Obamacare, that really did, and see, a lot of people don't understand, that really did help a lot of people. And can you just talk to us real quickly about how Obamacare has helped? And then I want to ask you about the football player and maybe a couple other health-related issues as we get this new year started, Doc.
Yeah, well, when we talked about the two-tier system, President Obama was well aware of that, and he took it upon himself to try and do what he could to correct it. And of course, when the Affordable Care Act came out and it was actually law, there were 20 million people in the United States that didn't lose their coverage.
Yes.
135 million Americans with pre-existing diseases were not exempt from health coverage. And so there were a litany of things that happen when you actually give people access to health care. Mm-hmm. And it's not only just access, it's how you're received. It's you can have a nice facility, but if the reception is not very nice, and they are not treated like other patients, many times people don't go back to those healthcare systems because they don't like the way that they've been treated. And so they've saved just a lot of lives. About 20 million people who had cancer was caught in time. It was a great movement, and President Obama, I really appreciate him for doing that. It's just made a difference. Right. That people who now health coverage for women that they couldn't get before. So it made a big difference. It really did.
Now, also, Dr. Edwards, following up on that, here in the state of Texas, we have Republicans who are in the governorship, the lieutenant governor. It seemed like they control the legislature, and the legislative session just got started earlier this week, yesterday. A lot of members got there, and from what I'm hearing, there is talk that the Legislative Black Caucus may be trying to get the state of Texas to go ahead and buy into the federal program and get millions of dollars that the state of Texas has been bypassing because they didn't want to be a part of Obamacare. So is there any hope that the state of Texas will eventually get some of that Medicare, Medicaid money, or is it just a long shot because the Republicans don't really understand the impact that it's having on the Black community?
Well, it's asinine to me. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Texas doesn't rank very high. They're like 47th. It's not a great state for healthcare. If you take the 50 states, it's around 46, 47. One of the highest maternity rates, death rates here in Texas. I mean, I don't get it. I'm not a politician. Maybe that's why I don't get it. But there's a huge psychological robust that goes to this, and you have to be really insensitive to humanity to not be able to expand where people need health care. They and they can improve the quality of life. They can bring something to the table. I mean, when people are healthy, they can work, they can do, but when they aren't, they can't. The state actually has given up billions of dollars. Texas has given up billions of dollars by not, signing in for the ACA. And it's unbelievable to me. I'd like to hear what Abbott and the rest of the politicians say who voted against the ACA. What was so, detrimental to, about it. So I don't get it. I don't get it as a physician.
Well, we followed that issue for quite some time. Now, the Republicans claim that they don't want to live by the rules and regulations dictated by the federal government in order to access that money. And, a lot of people were saying that that's just Republicans being stubborn and not caring about everybody and making sure that everybody's going to have the kind of health care that you got over there in North Dallas, where you have the abundance of all the hospitals compared to South Dallas. But once again, Doc, that's why we're honored to have doctors like you. Another quick question for you, Doc. You were an athlete. I was an athlete. This young man, Damar Hamlin. What's your assessment of what happened to him in terms of that hit? Was that the kind of hit that could throw off the electrical cardiogram of his heart, or could there have been something else going on here?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think the blow actually disrupted the muscle, because that's what the heart is it's a muscle, and through that cardiac rhythm into ventricular fibrillation.
Wow.
Which is it's incomparable. You cannot survive long periods of time with ventricular fibrillation. And so I think it was, number one, it was great, the fact that they had health care there that was appropriate for that. Just think of people who have that same rhythm that have no health care near them at all, and by the time that the ambulance get there, it's too late. But that's the kind of response that we are trying to bring here to Marsalis Avenue Urgent Care, is to have the equipment and the treatment regimens that we need to help people get back into health. But if you don't have it, it doesn't really make any difference if you're a young guy or not. That particular ventricular fibrillation is life-threatening, and you're not going to last more than probably about 5 to 7 minutes at the most.
My goodness. Now, Doc, this is because a lot of parents, have youngsters playing football, soccer, and we've seen the cardiomyopathy, which of course is a swelling of the heart, and then we have the pericarditis, the sac around the heart supposedly swelling. But do we have the kind of defibrillators at all of our high school football games, at our college football games? Because they're in the pros. Had they not had a defibrillator or been able to restart Damar's heart, we would have lost that young man. But are other athletes possibly at risk if there's no defibrillator on the sideline?
Usually they have ambulance at most of these games, high school games,
Yes.
and they're equipped with them. I'm not sure that every single game football game has that kind of equipment there. I cannot address it, but I do know usually if you see an ambulance there, they have defibrillators for sure.
Wow. Now, once again, we're talking here with Dr. Dralvis Edwards, great doctor within our community, also the owner-operator of the Marsalis Avenue Urgent Clinic, which is in the Glendale Shopping Center. And Doc, let's give out some contact information about your clinic. And what are you seeing in terms of COVID-19? Are we still getting our shots? Are people using natural immunity? We've got a lot of flu that's going around this time of the year, whereas last year it seemed like the flu just kind of disappeared. But how do we stay healthy this year, Doc?
Well, I think there was a lot to learn from the COVID pandemic. Number one, we were not prepared as a health system to even deal with it. Number two, we missed a number of patients. About 20% of the people who ended up passing away, the diagnosis was missed because all they had, the complaint they had was abdominal pain and maybe just a little nausea, and they were sent from the emergency room back home to say you just got a virus and you'll be okay, and they actually had COVID. So about 30% of the people who were actually diagnosed with it were diagnosed with it too late. So yeah, I agree with you. We had a pandemic that was not very well prepared for, and I think President Trump removed that portion of the health system that we could continue to study, because we go across the world and study the different conditions, health conditions, viruses, bacterial conditions, sepsis, and so forth, and we study those based on how other countries have those. We didn't. So he cut that out in 2018. So we didn't really have a good measuring stick of how we were going to handle a situation like this, and we weren't even prepared for it. So a lot of lives were lost unnecessarily, for sure.
Well, Doc, let me get ready to pause right now for just a quick break. And once again, we're talking here with Dr. Dralvis Edwards of the Marsalis Avenue Urgent Care Clinic. And we want you to check it out there in the Glendale Shopping Center. Going to pause right now for just a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley, and we thank you once again for being with us. Now, be sure to write this down. Check us out now at www.theupliftlive.com, a brand new 24-hour gospel radio station. Now, we're posted up right here in Dallas, Texas, but we're serving the entire globe. And this morning, we have been talking with Dr. Dralvis Edwards, owner-operator of the Marsalis Urgent Care Clinic. We've been talking about healthcare and making sure that you're going to start this new year off on the good foot. And once again, Dr. Dralvis Edwards, honored to have you with us, sir. And Dr. Edwards, now, don't you do some ER work as well here in the community?
Yeah, I still work emergency medicine, And I've been doing that for the last 22 years. I've worked in 38 different cities in the state. And so, it's about work.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping to
And
take.
Doc, also, before we run out of time, I want to congratulate you on your daughter. I remember when I mean, we've been doing interviews for seemingly decades, and I remember she came to the studio with you when she was, I think she was in medical school or just now getting ready to start her career at becoming a doctor, just like her daddy. Can you talk to us about that and just encourage others to go into that field?
Well, one of the things I taught my kids is, if you're gonna, do a job big or small, do it well or not at all. And that was my. I didn't push her to really get into it, but I did tell her that this is not a profession where you take advantage of people to make money. That is not why we get into this. And that and so she adhered and made good choices, and she was nominated a couple of years ago as being one of the top 40 doctors in America, female under 40 years old.
Oh my goodness!
And so the University of North Texas Health Science Center set up a foundation in our name, Dr. Jessica Andralvis Edwards. And so she's in New Jersey now, and she's doing quite well. So I'm proud of her.
My goodness, Doc. Well, congratulations on that. Now, also, now we were talking yesterday during our pre-interview about a lot of these hospitals and the history of some of our the medical legacy of Dallas, Texas. And I don't know if you're ready to let that cat out of the bag about what's going on in Southern Dallas at one of those historical medical clinics or not. But if you want to hold that information until the appropriate time, we certainly understand that, Doc.
Yeah, we can get to that a little bit later.
All right, now, Doc, getting back to COVID-19, at one time, President Biden said it seemed like the pandemic was over. Or is it over? And are you still dealing with clients coming in tested positive for COVID-19?
I had 3 yesterday. Had 3 mother, son, and daughter tested positive for COVID on yesterday.
Wow.
What I am seeing differently is that the acuity is not as bad.
Okay.
There's still, upper respiratory tract symptoms, but they're not this shortness of breath and, edema and respiratory failure that we saw earlier during the pandemic. But yes, it is actually on the rise again.
Oh,
the actual positive testing, but I don't see the same type of acuity and respiratory failure and things like that. I don't see it as definitely as frequently, but they are being hospitalized and having to take steroids and breathing treatments and so forth.
Wow. And what do you recommend in terms of our booster shots, Doc?
Well, I recommend them. I think that there was a little hanky-panky with it there for a second, but I do think that it at least stimulates the immune system to produce antibodies against that virus, or at least try or attempt to. With the number of deaths that we had, I would try anything. I mean, it was just not as I said earlier, we were not prepared. What I thought would have been more advantageous is that we take the serum from the individual who was positive, take that serum and then inject their loved ones who meet it to them with that serum, and they would develop their own antibodies. I think that there was just too much money spent for the vaccines, and I think that we could have done it a little bit differently. I also think that we could have taken a model from Cuba, where they were taking their medical students and they were going into the community and knocking on doors and giving people the vaccines as well. So if we would have taken all of our medical students and residents and give them 2.5-3 hours twice a week or whatever, to go to the neighborhoods who didn't have it, the outcomes would have been a lot better.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Doc, one last question. I got another guest getting ready to. We're going to talk about the Black Agenda coming up for the new year. But in terms of natural immunity, is there any way that we can tweak our immune system? Those who've been vaccinated, those who may be unvaccinated, how can we tweak our immune system to protect ourselves?
Well, let me say this: once you test positive, one of the greatest things you can do is continue to exercise. Mm-hmm. Do not stop exercising. I'm a big advocate of vitamin C. Dr. Linus Pauling was a big doctor who believed that vitamin C was a great advantage to human body. So vitamins, I think we need to reduce the amount of dairy products, particularly the farmers add a lot of steroids to their industry, their cows and so forth. Mm-hmm. We then take this, we end up having this high incident or high levels of estrogen that is contrary to good health. So I think we'll have to take some personal responsibility. We're going to have to exercise. We're going to have to eat a little bit better, eat less fatty foods and so forth. But exercise, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, all of those you should have those in your diet, whether you had the pandemic or not. So it would have been a lot better. We would have had a lot more resistance because our immune system would have been a lot better. So yes. Those, that's just a small litany of things that I think, but I do think that we got to exercise. We got to yes. we got to make some choices that we're going to continue to do that.
And Doc, I got to add the last question about the spiritual component. You are a former pastor, and I know that you're still ministering. As a matter of fact, maybe the Lord has set your ministry up in that clinic in there. But you are a former pastor. Real quickly, give us something in terms of our spiritual health moving into 2023.
Well, I think you've got to trust God, and if you're going to walk by faith, I need to see your works. You show me your faith. And I'll ask you for your works. So, what do you actually have done to, what did you do when I was hungry? And this is a part of what I believe our clinic is measured on, is the fact that we knew these people were sick. We knew these people didn't have access to care. What did I do? And so, I'm hoping that we can continue to galvanize, the ministerial faculties to help us with this. Dallas is one of the only cities in the country who has the population of members in a 5-mile radius anywhere in the country. So you have, if you take the Potter's House, the Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, Friendship West, within a 5-mile radius, nobody has that clientele of membership nowhere else in the country. Wow. So I'm hoping that we can continue to work with those guys to say, hey, look, these are the issues we have here in Dallas. Can you help us with it? And what can you all do to make this a lot better for the people here in Oak Cliff?
All right. Well, Dr. Jarvis Edwards, once again, we hope to have you back on with us maybe on a regular basis here at www.theupliftlive.com. I want you to check out the station here, hoping and pray that you'll enjoy the great gospel music and, of course, the ministries that we have on here. And once again, Doc, just want to thank you once again for your time and your hours of operation there at the Marsalis Avenue Urgent Clinic. Your hours of operation and phone number?
9 to 6, Monday through Friday. We open from 9 to 1 on Saturday and Sunday. So we open 7 days a week. We have a CT scanner. We have ultrasound. We have digital X-ray. We have, what you would normally not see in regular, clinics like ours, or urgent care clinics. So we can do a lot because the community needs a lot of service. And so we believe that we can we can supply you with about 90% of what you need prior to going to the hospital if you have to go. So
And your phone number, Doc?
the phone number is 214-432-1450. That's 214-432-1450.
All right. And Doc, how do we pay? You accept Medicare, Medicaid,
Yes, sir. We
private
take
insurance?
Medicaid, Medicare, all the major insurances.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, Dr. Jarvis Edwards, once again, give our regards to the family. And we thank you once again, Doc, for your time. And we will certainly stay in touch. And by the way, you can go to our Facebook page, www.theupliftlive. If you want to watch this interview again, it'll be posted right after we get through around 11:30 today. But Doc, we'll be back in touch with you. And once again, we thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you, sir. All right, once again, that's Dr. Jarvis Edwards, the owner and the operator of the Marsalis Avenue Urgent Care Clinic. And once again, we have needed medical facilities in the African American community, as we have watched across the country where medical facilities have been closed down, particularly in the Black community. We have one opening up in the heart of Oak Cliff. That's just right down the street from South Oak Cliff High School, the 5A state football champions. And we are certainly honored to have had Dr. Jarvis Edwards with us. Now, coming up just a minute or two here, we have a very distinguished young man who worked closely with us last year here at www.theupliftlive.com, Mr. Arthur Fleming, one of our longtime civil rights activists. And we have been talking about a lot of these classified documents that have been found. We've been talking about the state legislature that's getting ready to get back underway. And just the civil rights movement, the Black agenda. Do we have a Black agenda as we get ready to move into 2023? And first of all, Mr. Fleming, I want to say a Happy New Year to you, sir. Good morning on this Saturday morning. Arthur, how are you today, sir?
Happy New Year, Robert. Happy New Year. I'm glad to have you on the planet.
Well, hey, I'm still glad to be on the planet, man, because, 2022, boy, we have lost a lot of people. And it seems like each and every day somebody is suddenly dying. Lisa Marie Presley, the only child of Elvis Presley, died the other day. And I don't know if you heard the story about Patrisse Cullors. Now, Patrisse Cullors is one of the founding members of Black Lives Matters in Los Angeles. Her cousin wind up in a confrontation with police there and wind up dying after being subdued. A very, very controversial situation. That video was just released late last night. That's going to be a story that's going to be breaking here. But Patrisse Cullors, everybody, one of the founding members of Black Lives Matters, her cousin supposedly had a confrontation with Los Angeles police over some sort of a traffic situation. And the next thing we know that he is indeed dead. So you may be hearing a little bit about that. But Arthur, how have you been in 2023? What's going on in terms of the civil rights community? And just kind of talk to us once again. Tell us about your background, and let's talk about some of these issues. And there's a chance that Cheryl Smith, the Dean of Journalism here in Dallas, she's scheduled to join us, but I don't know if she's having trouble getting through our link or not. But Arthur, reintroduce yourself to us, man. Tell us about Arthur Fleming.
Arthur Fleming, past president of NAACP Dallas, graduate of Texas A&M Commerce, East Texas State back in the day, Vietnam veteran, Air Force. I have a big family that I'm from, and I love the community. So I've been working in the community for the last almost 40 years. I've been knowing you almost that long, Robert.
Yes, sir.
And so we kind of started at the same time. So I knew a lot of the old heads back in the day. Hudson Griffith, Attorney Bedford.
Wow.
Coleman Cottrell, all those folks, S.M. Wright, all those folks was on the exec committee at NAACP. So I got a chance to, just kind of see what was really going on back in those days. So all of them were positive toward me. So I have a love.
Well, praise God. And I tell you, you have been calling the roll, that those are some of the legendary leaders in Dallas, Texas. And we could call the roll Dr. Yvonne, you, the late Catherine Gillum. I mean, it's so many people who we have on their shoulders, the one and only Al Lipscomb and many, many others. And thank God for the leaders that we still have. But once again, Arthur Fleming are very much involved with the NAACP. And now what are you doing right now, Arthur? I mean, because, they tell me when your name is mentioned across the state in terms of civil rights, the white folks kind of jump when they say, is Arthur Fleming coming down here?
Well, I guess because I keep saying I'm coming, I'm on my way. But now, but basically, like I say, what's going on right now is, okay, here in Dallas, we've just had elections, so we have We have an elected president. We hadn't had elections for 4 years due to some other issues. But Cheryl Middlebrook, she's the president of the organization at this point.
Oh,
Now, this year, again, because we just had elections last year, now this year would be the state conference elections. So the state conference election will be held in October this year. So you can kind of look forward to that. Now we also have the National Convention, NAACP, that would be in Boston, Massachusetts, in July. So it'd be something else to mark down. Now, of course, you know, Rob, we got all types of issues. So it's like, but the main one is voting
yes.
rights. We have to continue to organize and keep that going. We can't go with the democratic flow, you know, which is after the election's over, you know, you do nothing until the next election. We can't afford to do that as an African American community. Everybody want to take your vote. They don't want your vote. They want to take your vote. So we have to fight just to hold on to our vote. So if you're able to vote, you need to understand that whatever it is that you want in this country is tied to your vote. So, you know, it's like air. If you don't vote, then, you know, you won't breathe.
Yes, indeed. But I'll tell you what, you know, we've got the Texas legislature got underway on yesterday. We're going to be trying to check in with some of the members of the Legislative Black Caucus. We salute them. And of course, there were several who were sworn in as new members of the Legislative Caucus there, Black Caucus, a couple of days ago. And we once again can salute them. But anything we need to be concerned about in terms of voting here in the state of Texas, because Governor Greg Abbott has just recently appointed a Secretary of State. And, you know, the last couple of Secretaries of State, we understand, hadn't been approved by the Senate. So are Republicans doing anything to upset the apple cart when it comes down to voting in Texas?
Well, they've already upset the apple cart. The apple carts turn all over. Apples running everywhere. So that's already happened. But what we're going to have to do is this session. It's different organizations at different times. We're going to have to go down and hold events. I'm working with an organization now, so I'll let you know when we get that together. But you know, we need to go down and you know, not to put pressure on Republicans, but we need to go down and put pressure on the Democrats to go in and actually fight. Look, we don't care if you lose, if you're fighting, but if you ain't fighting and you're losing, nobody, you know what I mean? So, you know, I need you to, you know, come back and tell me somebody mad at you or something like that. Then I know you're fighting, because otherwise, hey.
Oh, okay. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at that. Now, what are some of the issues? I mean, we just got through talking with Dr. Jalvis Edwards, one of our longtime professional doctors in the community who is really in touch with the people. And the state of Texas is still not taking millions of dollars from the federal government regarding the Obama Affordable Health Care Plan. And we've seen, according to Dr. Edwards, how that plan has helped so many people. But yet the state of Texas still won't take that federal money in it. Are they compromising people's health?
Well, you know, when I was in the healthcare Business, Dr. Evans was a doctor for my company.
Oh, wow.
And so I know exactly what he's talking about. And okay, that's an example of what I'm saying. We need to see our legislators down at the State House talking about that issue and talking about it in a way of demand. Right now, they're not doing that. You know, they need to go do that. You say, well, he's not going to do it, but that's not the point. The point isn't he's not going to do it. The point is you need to go down and raise the issue and educate the communities about the issue so that they can see where that's okay. This is why I need to come out and vote, because I don't have no insurance. I need to come vote for insurance. They need to frame the issues in a way where the community can attach it to their vote. That's a good example. Community. Your vote is you want health care in Texas. Okay, you need to go vote. The money's there. Mm-hmm. The money's there, and there's no reason for us not to, for us not to have it. So again, that's one of the issues where I like to see more fight out of our legislators.
Yeah, because, you know, as we have been following that issue, I don't know if it's $10 million or is it billions of dollars that the state of Texas is refusing.
Billions.
Billions. Is billions?
Billions.
Okay. Right. And see, that money could be going to poor people in these neighborhoods where there aren't hardly any hospitals. because Dr. Edwards told us that there were so many hospitals compared to what's in North Dallas compared to what's in South Dallas, and that almost seemed like apartheid in South Africa.
Well, I'd like to see our legislators do more investigation. Okay, like that issue there. Okay, when the federal government send money down, okay, this spend a certain amount of time and they go do other stuff with it. Kind of like what happened with Brett Favre and them down in Mississippi, right? You know, they just kind of, they just kind of didn't use the money and say, well, okay, now we can use for something else. Okay, and I'm saying that that's going on here in the state of Texas. We need our legislators to see where the money. Okay, we're not getting it. What's actually happening with the money? I mean, what did it go straight back, or because they have a lot of programs like that, Robert, where it's like they send the money down, and you don't apply for it. If it's not applied for, then the state can go do something else with the money. And so we need to know more about the rules that come down with these block grants and so forth and so on, so we can. And again, they need to educate us more about the process that they're operating in down there, whether they do something or not.
And also, we're hearing too that the state of Texas has a well over was it 10 million or $10 billion surplus. We've got a lot of money here in the state of Texas, and
they have here. We have here. Okay, I'm getting another example. Education. We have all these bad schools. We have these 19. Look at this is the 21st century. 21st century. We don't have 21st century schools. Okay, now why isn't that a priority? Why is that a priority? Okay, we still have this outdated system for education where if you're in a rich district, you got a rich school. You're in a poor district, got a poor school. You know what I mean? But the standards are the same. Well, that's unequal by itself. Okay, again, those are the kind of issues. Whether you win or not, I like to see them raise those issues.
Yes. My goodness. All right. Well, once again, we're talking here with a civil rights activist, the one and only Arthur Fleming, talking about the state legislature, the Black Agenda, as we're getting ready. And of course, we're now in 2023. Of course, our phone lines are always open. If you have a comment, you want to chime in on the conversation, what should be on the a Black Agenda for 2023? Or do we even get to the point now that there is a Black agenda? Democrats are in control now. We haven't even talked about the so-called classified documents, the whole story regarding classified documents. What's the difference between President Trump's classified documents and President Biden's classified documents? And once again, we're talking here with Arthur Fleming, a longtime civil rights activist within this particular community. And Arthur, this whole story that broke this week about President Biden and when he was vice president under Barack Obama, supposedly these classified documents were found in the garage with the Corvette. People are trying to compare that to Trump having classified documents and the raid on his home. But we understand that there's a distinct difference here. Arthur, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, let's be clear. The Republicans are claiming that. Now, the main difference is that these documents were found by his staff. His staff turned them in to the archives and so forth. The archive didn't even know that they didn't have them. So the archive tightened their stuff up, right? And so basically, he turned them in. There was no issue. Now, Trump, on the other hand, he stole them. They asked for them back. He wouldn't give them back. Then finally had to go in and take them. So, it's a little bit different there. Trump was trying to negotiate with his documents. He said, well, give me the stuff on what you have on Kim Jong-un, them and me. And then I give you stuff. I mean, he was actually trying to negotiate. So again, Biden didn't even, they just turned the stuff over. They didn't even say, hey, Biden, we found this stuff. They didn't do that. They just turned the stuff over and then told him. So it's a totally different issue, but I can understand why they're trying to change the subject. They got this Santos guy up there lying and on. They don't know what to do with him. Kevin McCarthy is weaker than a spaghetti noodle. And so, and so they got problems. They trying to find, a way to find a way. They got all these racists in their camp. Now the mainstream media calls the Republican Party fascists because that's what they are. And we have to call these people what they are, man. You can't fight a thing if you don't call a thing what the thing is. The thing is fascism. That's what this is, okay? We've seen it before, and so basically, we have to understand that that's what we're up against.
Mhm.
These people not playing. Uh, White privilege is what they're trying to protect. This past election, the blue wave, well, it wasn't a blue wave, it was a black wave. And what happened was 72% of white women, 72% of white women voted for Republicans in this last election. 72% of white women. So I'm telling the sisters, you hear about Emily List and all these organizations that's coming after y'all, saying, hey, we women and I, no, when it come down to it, they gonna vote for the slave master. Because why? Because they stay boy. And so that's what they gonna do. And so we need to understand that. So if you get to the promised land, brothers ain't with you, that ain't the promised land.
Yes. All right. Once again, Arthur Fleming is with us now. In terms, so the Democrats, particularly the African American community, who voted overwhelmingly for Mr. Biden, for a lot of folks, they might be scared. They might be saying, okay, the Republicans now control the House. Jim Jordan and this Connolly congressman out of Kentucky are trying to investigate President Biden. Do we need to be worried about the possibility of them trying to impeach, or will the Senate make sure that doesn't happen?
The biggest thing you got to worry about with this Republican Congress is will they crash the economy? They did that with Obama. They did all that stuff. That's really the only power they have. Anything they pass within the Congress, the Senate is not going to even bring it up. The president sure not going to sign it. So basically, as far as legislatively, they're not going to be able to do anything. They're going to have these committees, these kangaroo committees and things where they're going to be pretending to be doing whatever. But basically, anything they come up with, it's not going to go anywhere. So basically, what they're actually going to do, in my opinion, they're going to just write the campaign ads for the next election, all the way up to the election, because they're going to spend their time trashing or talking about getting rid of Medicare, Medicaid. They want to vote on it every year. This type of stuff. So they're talking about destroying America. The insurrection continues. So they finna do phase 2 of the insurrection. So they're still trying to overturn the government.
My goodness. All right. Well, once again, we're talking here with Arthur Fleming, one of our top civil rights leaders here in the state of Texas. And of course, you're watching www.theupliftlive.com. And of course, we're a brand new 24-hour gospel station right here in Dallas, Texas. And we're on 24/7. Whenever you need to escape the negativity of the world that we live in. It seems like we're living now in the times that are certainly trying men's souls as we watch all that's going on. Inflation, the price of eggs, just as the cost of living seemingly is going up. And I used to hear my pastor at the Potter's House, Bishop T.D. Jakes, say, well, as the prices go up, ask God to give you more money, so that if you have to pay $3 for a gallon of gas when you pull up to that tank, God, thank you, Lord, for giving me the money to be able to pay for this, because we've got to be able to survive. Well, I'll tell you what, back at the home base there, if we could get ready to pause for just about a 4-minute break. I really need to take care of some business right here. But once again, we're still talking with Arthur Fleming, and I do believe Cheryl Smith, considered to be the Dean of Journalism, is expected to possibly join this conversation as well. And once again, tell a friend about this great radio station, www.theupliftlive.com, because we're going to need the Spirit of the Lord to take us on through 2023, because we just never know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. All right, we're going to pause right now for just a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this. And we welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley here on a Saturday morning. We're posted up in Dallas, Texas, home of who? Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys as they're getting ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night, a big playoff game here. Now, of course, we're rooting for the Cowboys because, of course, we're right here in Dallas. Of course, we've been talking with Arthur Fleming, author, of course, a longtime civil rights activist right here in Dallas, Texas, former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP. And I was, of course, a working journalist here in Dallas, Texas, covering Arthur's tenure as president of the NAACP. Boy, it was a very, very controversial tenure as you led the NAACP right here in Dallas, Texas. But once again, we're honored to have Arthur with us today. And by the way, something is going on at Carter High School this morning that should be getting underway right now at 11 o'clock. Now, parents, if you have a child that is proficient in band, take, for example, they was a band member of the band right now getting underway at Carter High School, and you have time to get to Carter High School. There is an audition. They call it the Battle of the Bands. We've got several of our HBCU universities that are at Carter High School right now, and they're giving the children an opportunity to audition for band scholarships. Now, check that out. So if your child was in band, plays the tuba, the drums, the trumpet, and they're looking to go to college, get on over to Carter High School right now. Get over there right now. Have them take their instrument with them so that they can audition. And if the band leaders, basically would like them, they will sign them to a scholarship. And I just got a text from my good friend Cheryl Smith that somehow or another she can't get in through our link this morning. So we're going to have to see if we can work that out. Maybe Deontay, I'll text you Cheryl's number and see what we could work out there. But once again, Mr. Arthur Fleming is with us. And also, if you get a chance to go by Carter High School this morning, get on over there and try out, do an audition. You never know. You might get a free ride to college. Now, I'm a graduate of Grambling State University, and our radio and TV department was right over by where the band would practice. Now, that's one thing about the historically Black colleges and universities. If you're a member of the band, you're going to practice. You're going to have good grades, but you'll have swag all over the university campus. But once again, Arthur Fleming is with us. And Arthur, we are certainly honored to have you with us. And Cheryl Smith, you know Cheryl, a long time. We called her the Dean of Journalism here in Dallas. She was scheduled to join us. We're going to try to re-implement what we call Reporters Roundtable, where we get reporters together, civil rights leaders like yourself, maybe other elected leaders, and we talk about the issues of the day. And Arthur, anything else about the state legislature in terms of education? I know that one time you were concerned about the quality of water in our public schools because you had working with some scientists and y'all found all kinds of mess in the water system at our public schools.
Yeah, before I talk about that, I just want to say that if the Cowboys don't win Monday, the McCarthy's going to get fired. But anyway.
Oh, wow.
I just want to say.
Who will be the next coach? The guy out of New Orleans? Or?
Sean Payton.
Okay.
Sean Payton. But no, I just want to say that.
Well, that's what I've been hearing too.
The water's bad. The water, and again, that's another one of those issues that we're talking about down at the state house, state legislature. Matter of fact, the federal government has allotted monies to clean up the water in these bad schools and so forth and so on. So the federal government has provided some money also. That's one of the issues. I think the study says that over, and this was like what 4 or 5 years ago, over 70% of the schools in Texas, I think it's about over 7%, have lead contaminated type water. 70%.
What?
Okay. Yeah, 70% of the schools of the public schools have bad water, and so for that not to be a priority issue, if that's not an issue to go fight for down at the state house, that's not an issue to go and make some noise about. Again, if they would just go and fight these issues that we're talking about, then they'll have their campaign agenda already set for the next campaign, whether they win or not. They'll be able to establish, the agenda for the next election. Kind of what the Republicans are doing in reverse, right? They finna do all this stupid stuff, but that's what their agenda is about. And so I think that if we can get our legislators to go down and fight for, that's another issue, bad water. Now, about 4 or 5 years ago, we had the district, we got on about the water. They said it's going to do this, that, and the other. Okay, roll it forward. What we're going to ask for now, we're going to ask for them to do another water check. Y'all need to check it now. And then let's look at the study from now versus the study from then. And let's see if anything have improved. And if it haven't, then we need to deal with that. Because that kids just go to school and drink this bad water.
That's what I'm saying. Now, is it safe for the children to be drinking the water at school?
No, it's not safe. Any amount of lead, you have to understand, we talk about HD and kids can't stay still and all that stuff. Water contributes to lead water makes you dumb. I just say it like that. Lead makes you dumb. It also makes you agitated, makes you so if a kid, say if he's getting bad water, say if he's in an apartment, he getting bad water at the apartment, then he come to the school to get more bad water, he getting a double dose of bad water. So the water issue really isn't, we're focusing on the children at school because school is public and they should be doing that. But we also need to be on the city about making sure that people that are renting places and houses and stuff, that the water lines or whatever, that the water in those houses, they know what the water quality is. I think, especially have children, right? Because, you don't want the kids drinking, bad water. But yeah, we're going to ask the district to reassess, the water here in DIC so we can kind of see if they made any progress.
Now, didn't we have an experience with that? The RSR lead smelter in West Dallas for years polluted that community. And we saw all kinds of toxic children being born without the side of their face and all this kind of thing. And
yeah, I miss some of the lead people.
Wow.
We did, when I worked at juvenile detention at the time, I was juvenile detention officer for a minute. But anyway, we protested. I was with the AFME unit at that time. We protested back they were going to build that juvenile detention center on that site. So we went and protested, and the commissioners, John Watt and those other fellows, they say, well, okay, we're not going to do it. So we backed off. Well, a year later, the building was standing up there. They had built the building. So I protested. So I refused to go to the building. So I went on ahead and just applied for unemployment. And because I was asking them to test the dirt and they refused to do it. And so when we had our unemployment session, because my position was they won't test the dirt. So when we got to the thing, they just went on ahead and just gave me money because they didn't want to test the dirt, right? And I met some of the lead people that were out there at the time when we did our protest, and they showed us this tank, what was a tank where they swim at, where people used to come in, the chemical companies come and dump their stuff off in there. Then have the creek over there. They was dumping chemicals in the creek. I mean, this is in addition to the lead smelter. And so these people deformed to the day, today behind that. Now, for those that know anything about West Dallas, after I think it was Royce West and Domingo Garcia and so they went and did. They supposedly went and made a deal, got a deal out there. Okay, but what happened was, somebody got paid, but they left the people over there. And if you remember, over the years, if you drove over there, you see these wood ramps leading up to people's houses, right? Because of the lead, they lost their legs and things like that, and so they had to have and so somebody got the money and they left the people over there. And now roll it forward to the day. Those people are dead. I bet the bitch probably can't find none of them now. So all of them dead now. And then what did they do? Then they moved the Hispanic community into that area. They moved them into it.
Right.
Okay, so now they're over there fighting to stay over there. The dirt's still dirty. And now they're going to be building high rises and so forth and so on over in the area. So I'm just saying that the dirt never got cleaned up. It was one guy went to jail. Okay. And he went to jail because they found out that okay when they was because they still were doing periodic cleanups from the shards and so forth. So they said okay, we're gonna clean it up and remove it. They were driving through Ennis, and you know we got a freeway around Ennis now because Ennis said we don't want y'all coming through us town with all that. So because they're putting that old collider hole. But anyway, so they said okay, we'll take it out of state. Well, guess where they was taking it? They was taking it to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and dumping it in a black neighborhood down there.
Wow.
So they caught him. So they caught him doing that. So one guy went to jail for that, but the rest of that stuff, nobody ever went to jail. Some folks got paid, and the dirt's still dirty.
And then we have a major a major economic development that took place over there. I forget the name of it, but got all kinds of shops and restaurants and hotels over there right now. I think it's Village Creek. I'll tell you what, Cheryl Smith, I do believe, is on the line with us. I'd like to bring Cheryl on the line with us here, the great Dean of Journalism. There she is.
Hello there.
Cheryl
Hi.
Smith. Well, good morning, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. And of course, you know Mr. Arthur Fleming, and Arthur, you know the great Dean of Journalism in this community, Cheryl Smith. She is with us here. And Cheryl, first of all, as we have Arthur on with us, we've been talking about a lot of things going on, but tell everybody about what you're doing right now. Your newspaper, I've known you for years. You are considered to be the Dean of Journalism. And we certainly want to thank you for all that you've done, those journalism workshops, the Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Communicators. I mean, you've been on the national level. You have just been what we would call, like I said, the Dean of Journalism. And Cheryl, what you got going on now?
Well, first I have to say, because people tell me that I don't say enough about it, but, last year I was inducted into the National Association of Black Journalists Hall of Fame.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
And so that was, I'm honored. And not only that, I also was named a distinguished alum at Florida A&M University School of Journalism and Graphic Communication. Yes. And I just have to share those. And then Editor and Publisher Magazine named me one of the top 25 over 50.
Good grief. My
So
goodness.
those are some of the things to be recognized for your work. That was last year was a big year, and I expect for others to be larger because we're doing things with Texas Metro News, Garland Journal, and iMessenger Media as well. And so we're doing a lot of things to elevate our communities, and we're doing that also with beginning on Monday we'll have the Healthy Living Expo, because without our health we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. So we're going to be at the African American Museum, and we're going to be doing everything from giving flu shots to COVID, and that's controversial, but we're going to be giving COVID exams and screenings and shots also. And in fact, folks that get these shots can actually get a $25 gift certificate. But no, gift card actually.
Gift card, all
It's
right.
a Walmart card, yes.
Now that's this coming Monday. That's part of the Martin Luther King celebration?
Right, yes it is. And so it starts at 10 o'clock at the African American Museum, and we have performances and just a lot going on. We're going to even give out some DNA tests. I found out some things taking a DNA test that I am 90% African. And so guess what? People ask me, what's the other 10%? I said, don't matter. Don't worry about it. I'm good. So, but
well, that sounds great. And once again, this is going to be at the African American Museum. Now, the parade will be kicking off, I think, at about 11 o'clock. So is this going to be going on all day at the African American Museum?
Yeah, well, the parade is supposed to start at 10. And there have been times when it has started on time, times when it started early, and times when it started very, very late. But we're going to start on time at 10 o'clock.
Yes. All right. Now, Arthur Fleming, Arthur, longtime civil rights leader. You probably was covering him when he was president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP. Now, Cheryl, is there a Black agenda? As the state legislature is meeting in Austin, we've got members of Congress. The Democrats lost control of the House. The Republicans have the Senate. And we got all these classified documents. And we're just wondering if the Republicans are going to try to impeach President Biden, or will the Democrats protect him in the Senate?
They are. you know, and it's just a mess. And for anyone who watched the voting taking place, and I just feel for the many citizens who came to the nation's capital for the swearing in, and they didn't get to see it. They had to go back home, you know, and even Congresswoman Johnson was there, and you know her flight was the next day because they expected for things to
Right.
go a certain way. But you know we have a lot of issues going on in our community and it's in this country. You know, even when I look at the voting and what went on, and look at Democratic and Republican, um, when you look at what they're doing,
Hmm.
they are dividing our country even more. I think, you know, and I know it's crazy for me to say it, but even in the halls, I just think they should go alphabetically. And because this
Yeah.
standing, one group standing and one group sitting when something is going on, it just shows how stupid and dysfunctional we are. Because some of the things that are going on, we really need to be. They need to be applauding. Can't they come together on anything? It's just like really silly and immature. And for me watching it, and I know for others watching, you have
Yes.
to say, why can't y'all come together for us? Because
Mhm.
you aren't representing us well at all.
Well, you know, in the Senate during the McCarthy voting, the
Right.
Democrats were solid behind the gentleman from New York. And as I was asking Arthur with this black Republican Donalds that they put up, was that just, you know, Corey Bush said that he was just a propper, that this was grandstanding, or are the Republicans truly trying to reach out to black folks, or what?
Well, you know, and I think about, I was actually in Washington when they unveiled Congresswoman Johnson's portrait for the STEM
You,
committee.
oh my,
And
damn,
it
yeah.
was a wonderful opportunity to just to talk to people. And she said then, and she encouraged people
Uh,
to vote for Hakeem Jeffries. And it was
mhm.
good to see older people who were in positions of power stepping aside, not to just, you know, and that's one thing I say to our young people, you can't just bring, you cannot just bring your age and say that that's the reason you should be sitting at the table. You have to bring something else. And that's what folks like Hakeem Jeffries
Right,
bring
right.
there. Now, about
Hmm.
them saying that the brother
Out of Florida,
Byron
Donaldson.
Donalds,
Donald,
actually, and he went to Florida A&M, and he also went
what?
to
But
um, he went
Florida,
to at Florida State also. And you know,
oh, they kicked him out.
just think about it. If you can, if you watch TV and you watch court trials and everything, lots of times when there is a woman accusing someone of rape, they will have a woman cross-examine her.
Yes.
And they went and they actually, when um representative from Florida was nominated, they go and get a brother. They go and get a brother to come and, you know, co-sign for him to. And it's just like, you know, y'all, it's so disingenuous. It's just so um pathetic how they try to play us. And it's very, very unfortunate too,
Yes.
because you know you have to look at what we're trying to do, what this country is trying to do, and you have us, we agree. I know that we should agree on more. And if we can't expect them fools in the nation's capital to come together and agree on what's best for this country, they don't need to be there.
Yes,
Sure,
indeed. Arthur?
sure he was Herschel Walker that got through.
Well, we won't even, you know, even when you talk about a Herschel Walker
No, he
and
was a
what they
Herschel.
did and putting someone there, and there were people who were not, and that's the difference. Guess what? They
Uh,
were playing to win. Republicans play to win, and they stick together and they play to win.
yes.
And
Oh, we lost Cheryl. My goodness.
Oh, but
I wanted to really ask her about the Biden document situation, but Arthur, we have a few more minutes to go. Anything else on the agenda while we're trying to get Cheryl back? Anything else on the agenda, Arthur, before we get ready
well,
to leave? We got a couple more minutes to go.
what I'm working on, I'm working on a resolution with the state conference. So hopefully it'll be a national resolution. But basically, what we want to do is, basically, without going up into it, uh, Just think about the Golden Dome in Israel.
Mhm.
They shoot stuff over. They got a dome. They got a protected system where they can shoot it down.
Right.
We have to use our black media as our Golden Dome, where we need to put them in a position where they can get information, educate the community, where when these different programs come in on us,
Mhm.
we'll be educated where we can repel not only those messages, but we can send out our own messages. So the
Beautiful.
crux of my resolution is actually centered around our black media systems.
Yes.
We need to get control of those, and then to create space where we can promote promote the black agenda.
Okay, now we have Cheryl back with us, and Cheryl, listen, we got a couple of more minutes. We're leaving at about 11:30. Got about 8 more minutes to go, and Cheryl, we're trying to eventually get the media roundtable back going, possibly here on a Saturday morning, each and every Saturday. We'd love to have you and other journalists work with us, and I know you've done a lot of work. But Cheryl, your thoughts about the Biden classified documents? Will the Republican? What are the Republicans going to do with that?
Let me tell you, they're going to ride that pony as long and hard as they can, and they're going to deflect. It's a distraction. The documents from the reports that I've heard, the documents were not that serious, and they were not ones that Trump actually took documents and would not give them back. And you have this is just a distraction, because a lot of things aren't going to happen what we want to happen. And guess what this says to us? This says, God darn it, you need to vote, because that's what it boils down to. And two things impacted the election this time.
Yes.
The two things that impacted were the census, and we were really challenged because people were not able to complete their census. They totally failed, and the census folks need to be working on that right now for the 2030
2024.
census. And so you had redistricting issues. You had
we've lost Cheryl again, author.
What you were saying was that we've had redistricting issues behind the census. As you remember, Mr. Trump at the time, remember, he disrupted the whole census system. They tried to cut it short.
Yes.
So they obviously didn't count everybody, and we had this issue where they want to have. I think they want to add white Hispanics, and I mean, so they had a bunch of stuff on there that they were trying to do. Okay, there she's back.
And Cheryl, you were talking about the redistricting being disrupted, and also President Biden was at the border, y'all. What was that, last week? He came to the Texas border after all of the clamoring from Governor Greg Abbott.
Right. And you have to realize what people are saying about us and Florida and Georgia. They're they're similar. They say they're one and the same, because look at who we have in office. You mentioned earlier, Robert, about what's going on in the legislature, what's going on in Austin.
Yes.
And at the close of the last session, at the close of that 87 session, we actually had a meeting down in Houston, and elected officials came and they talked about how tough it was, how vicious it was there. And I talked to an elected official yesterday, and he said it's worse, because you want to know what? They don't care. When they have positions of power, they yield that power. And guess what? The Democrats don't do that. The Democrats are wimps. They don't fight. They don't stand up. So it was wonderful that they stood up for Hakeem Jeffries, because they knew that they were going to be heavily ostracized. And that's what we need to do. We need to start calling people out who don't do things in our best interest. And so we have to look at who we're electing to office. We have to prepare them. I'm going to tell you, and this didn't come from anyone who's sitting in office right now, but I was at a political forum, and a young lady said she was running for Congress, and she said she only wanted to serve 2 terms, but by then she would have completed everything that she wanted to do. Well, that shows naivete. We need to prepare people for election, because you don't get to do things in Congress, in the United States Congress. You stand a better chance of it being heard from more when you are in the minority, like we heard from the group when Trump was in office, but how much have you heard from them since Biden has been in office?
Well, you got a good point there, Cheryl. And as Black journalists, when we try to hold our Black elected officials accountable, we get accused of trying to destroy them and to leave them alone. But let me ask you about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Now, this Sam Friedman, this cryptocurrency billionaire, is she tied up into that situation? Is she going to have to wind up giving contributions back, or is she free of any controversy?
Well, see, and that's the thing. And I want to deal with that first part first, because we talk about how people feel about us. Black people, not only Black journalists, but Black journalists and Black people don't hold other people accountable. All of them, I'm going to use the county as an example. Ask them to name 2 county commissioners, Dallas County commissioners. I bet you most of them only name one, and it's going to be the Black one. And I bet you he does not even represent them.
Yes, it did.
So we don't hold people accountable, and we need to hold those white ones. When I wanted extra tickets to go to the Obama inauguration,
Yes,
guess who I went to? White Republicans.
right, Republican. I remember you told me about that.
Because they weren't going to use them. They were not going to use those tickets, and they gladly gave them away. But what about the ones, we need the accountability needs to be there, and we need to be behind and stay behind and follow things closely, and don't let Congresswoman Crockett be railroaded, because it can happen very quickly. And we sit and say, I knew she was doing something wrong, because we have that mentality, a lot of us, instead of saying, I can tell you this: if she did something wrong, she didn't intentionally do it wrong.
Yeah.
And I know that, you have the ones who are intentionally doing things. You have all those people who intentionally did January 6th and conspired. And we need a stronger, the Democrats need to have stronger backbone, because I tell you what, if the tables had been switched and it had been Democrats doing that, there would be people in jail for longer terms, and all kind of mess would have happened, because that's what Republicans do. And
Yes.
you know what? Nothing's wrong with fighting for your people.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all. I think Arthur.
Do Texas Democrats need to strengthen their back too?
Oh, come on. They are so weak. They need to stop endorsing during primaries, because they're all Democrats. Let them fight it out and get to the end, and you support the person, because they were wrong. They do not support Black men the way they need to do. And then we also need to tell these people, it's interesting. I told an incumbent the other day, because a couple of years ago, this incumbent was upset because the old guard was supporting incumbents, but now they're an incumbent, and guess what they want? They want the support. Understand politics when you get in it. Get involved, get engaged, but we do need more activism, and we need to stop fighting each other because we scared to fight other folk. Fight them. Get together and fight them.
Fight them fascists.
That's you talking about Black on Black crime. That's where the Black on Black crime is doing, because we're tearing down people who are doing things and trying to find things that they're doing wrong. And no one is, you don't hear a wide outcry for people who are older than Congresswoman Johnson, or about her age, who are still there. You will let them die there, and you will let them turn 100, and you will sing happy birthday to them, but you don't want a Black person to be in that type of position.
Good grief. Well, I'll tell you what, Cheryl and Arthur, we're going to have to do this again. And Cheryl, we'd like to, like I said, we'd like to bring back the Reporters Roundtable, because I remember when you were on KKDA, I used to listen to you on Sunday mornings, and we really need to get a lot of those shows back going, because media has changed here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community. Heaven 97 is gone, KKDA is gone, And we're going to have to use social media to try to galvanize our community to get us back together on one accord. And, historically, the role that we Black journalists have played, the Ida B. Wells of the day, and we got to continue that legacy. And I want to thank you, Cheryl, for coming on with us this morning. And Arthur, of course, want to certainly thank you. And maybe we can do this on a regular basis, because we'd love to do it. And of course, we got this new online gospel radio station, www.theupliftlive.com. And Cheryl, we certainly would like to work with you. And once again, Arthur, we want to thank you for coming on with us here today. And don't forget, everybody, over at Carter High School this morning, Cheryl, I know you know about this, where they have the historically Black colleges and universities. They have the band directors over there. People can go over there, do auditions, and possibly get band scholarships. That got underway at 11 o'clock this morning at Carter High School. It's going on. And of course, Duncanville had their big parade last night for the District 6A championship. And Cheryl, Arthur, real quickly before we leave, anything else going on in the community we need to know about? In the MLK parades in Dallas stepping off Monday, Fort Worth MLK parade stepping off, and of course, some are taking place right now in various cities.
Right, Mesquite and Garland. And I just have to give a shout out to Roland Parrish, because that is one person who, you talk about it being at Carter High School, is doing great things in our community and constantly employing our children and everything. There are a lot more jobs out there. We have to get our children to working. We have to spend more time. We have to get back engaged. We have to survive in spite of COVID, because COVID has done so much, and we have so many of our children suffering. I hope everyone will come out on Monday to the African American Museum. And then also, we talk about it's a holiday. It's amazing to me, the hypocrisy of it all, that people want to talk about celebrating a holiday and didn't even celebrate the man or what he was about, and not living anything like what he wanted us to live. So we have some work to do, which I tell you, we are having a peach cobbler contest on Monday, because that was one of his favorite meals. One of his favorite desserts, Dr. King. So, but there's so much going on, and we need to get engaged. And I just tell you, yes, we do need, you can say I'm a conspiracy theorist if you want to, but look at how much we lost in the way of media, in the way of talk radio, in the way of giving people a voice. How it was hurt tremendously. And I look at what we're doing with Texas Metro News, iMessenger Media, everything that we're doing. And I just say, y'all need to support the Black press. Don't walk away from it. Don't walk around it. Don't say, oh, no, I don't need it. Get your butt out and support us so that we can do the things that we want to do. And we're out there. We're everywhere. We have somebody at Carter High School. We have somebody at the Mesquite Parade. We have people who are around, and we deserve the support.
One other thing, I hope at the station, give me about just 2 more minutes here. We didn't talk about the 6-year-old who pulled a gun out at a Virginia school and shot the teacher. We don't know what race that child was. We know the teacher was white. Cheryl, starting with you, 6-year-olds bringing guns to school now. And then we got the report last night that there may have been some warning that the child had the gun. Somebody searched the backpack and supposedly missed the gun.
See, we're expecting, there's so much pressure on teachers. And I have to say that, and we did a special series on COVID, looking at what teachers and what students are going through and everything. And I've been watching this and looking at the dynamics. You get the impression that the student was not, that the child, because that's what it is, that the child was not of color, but it could have been. And but I didn't see anything that gave me any indication, and I was looking very closely to see what they showed. They were not going to show the parents, because I do believe in protecting the children, but kids get things. We got things that our parents went to the grave not knowing we had done. And so I don't know what happened. They do say the shooting was intentional, that this child intentionally shot the teacher, and the teacher, went about, even after being shot, did things to protect all the other children. But I just hope, whatever the child's age is, the child needs help. And we need to realize that there's so many of our children need help. But guess why so many of them need help? And that's another story that we need to talk about, because of the things that they're coming into this world in their body, because their mom and dad, because what comes through that dad's semen gets in there also. And it is turning out some criminals.
Oh my goodness, Arthur, real quickly, your thoughts about that shooting in Virginia?
Well, a lot of people say the same thing. They feel like they must be white because otherwise, if they were black, we've been saw the whole family by now.
Mm.
So that's kind of what that is. But to piggyback what Cheryl said, look, the black media system, that's our superpower. That's our superpower, y'all. That's our superpower. And so we need to develop, and again, the resolution that I have submitted to the NAACP, that's what it's about.
Mhm.
It's about with our media systems at the center of our community and organizations, give us the ability to put our own messages out, to create our own content and reality. So that's really what it's about. And again, I'm keep working on that, Cheryl.
It levels the playing field. It levels the playing field. And
Yeah.
I tell you, my commitment to it is so strong that when they were even showing the hearings to voting on McCarthy, I
Yes.
watched it on the Black Star Network.
Oh,
That's what I watched it
well,
on.
let's give Roland Martin, because I was just sitting here thinking about Roland, and Roland has the Black Star Network and has been doing a great job, and we all know Roland because Roland was right here during his earlier days. He seemed like he cut his teeth right here in Dallas Fort Worth.
Yeah, back in the day.
His journalism career. All right, well, we have lost Cheryl, but Arthur, we want to thank you so much for coming on with us again this morning. And once again, we were looking to establish our journalism roundtable. And once again, tell everybody about this radio station, because we got another avenue. We got another. Cheryl is back. And Cheryl, just acknowledging Roland Martin. We're really proud of what Roland is doing. Now, Roland was controversial when he was back here in Dallas, as we all are controversial in our own right. But is Roland kind of giving us a blueprint here?
He is. I mean, it's wonderful, and that's why I support it. I use money that I have to support what he's doing. Yesterday I went online and voted because he's been nominated for an NAACP Image Award, and everyone can go on and vote for him there. Yes, he's giving us the blueprint. He's doing the work, and one thing he's bringing voices we would never hear. We're hearing it because of Roland Martin, and so I support it. And I encourage people, I would like to see, like even with yourself, Robert, decades ago, you were writing, use the platforms we have. We have to be multi
Yes, indeed.
media and get word out and tell people what's going on all platforms. And when people say that the black press is dying, no, it isn't. If anything starts to die, it's going to be our darn community for lack of knowledge and lack of information. So we have to stay, I'm in it. Folks say, Cheryl, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, how do you retire from life? This is my life. I love what I'm doing. I love being the voice for, I'm going to say the muted, because guess who mutes them a lot of time? We do. And then, and I've even adopted, when I was speaking at the Hall of Fame induction, I said, that I am black, I am blackish, and I can get blackety black when it comes to telling the story of my people, like Brittany Griner. And I said that when we know this, we're out here and we're doing what we need to do. We're doing it for people. It's a labor of love. We're doing it for people who don't realize that all ice is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. In plain old English, breaking it down to you, ain't nobody ice hot colder.
My goodness.
And so this is what I am telling people and encouraging them to support us, give us that support, advertise with us. And and I hear black-owned businesses and folks say, "Oh, I don't have to advertise. I don't have to advertise." Well, guess what? Your butt ain't no better than when you want to blame Koreans or anybody else who come in our community and make money off of us and don't give anything back. You're not advertising because you are trying to get business necessary. You're advertising to show your support of other businesses, because one thing about the black person, this, Robert, people will call you and ask you, and you, Arthur, too, give me a funeral home, give me the name of this, give me the name of a cleaners, give me a black cleaners. They ask you, and we're giving out all that information. But are these black funeral homes, are these black cleaners, are they advertising with us? No, we don't have to. You have a line around your building every day for somebody to get whatever you're selling,
Mhm.
your hot wings or whatever. But then you say, "Oh, I don't have to advertise. Look at my line." Well, you ain't no different from other people who come in our community and pimp it, because you're supposed to turn some of them dollars around into other businesses as well.
Well, we got to resurrect Black Wall Street. That's what it was all about. And Cheryl, real quickly, tell everybody how they can follow you, read your newspaper, and author. We'd like to do the same, and hopefully we can get together next week with another panel and continue talking and educating our community. Cheryl, how can people reach you?
Well, you can reach me at texasmetronews.com. If you go there, you can also sign up for our daily newsletter. We're one of a few Black-owned newspapers in the country that has daily stuff coming at you.
Beautiful.
Daily we come, 365, 366 in leap year. And so you can reach us there. You can call it. We're located in Dallas, but guess what? People are reading us all around this world, because we say every story is local, because we have people in Ghana and all over the place that they're thirsting for information, and we provide that. So check us out at www.texasmetronews.com, and check us out we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well, and you can look for me. I'm Pen on Fire.
Pen on Fire. I love that. And you've had that moniker for a long time. And Arthur, how can people find out about you, Arthur?
Or you just just check out my content on Arthur Clinton Fleming on Facebook and on in my Civil Rights Issues group. I'm also on Instagram. So basically, again, we're just trying to educate folks, give them the information, so that when the incoming comes in, we can be protected and know that it's just crap. So we need to stay focused. We're fighting fascists, y'all. Say the word. You can't fight a thing if you don't call it a thing. It's called fascism. That's what we're fighting. We're not fighting regular old white racists that we used to. These are fascists. That mean they're political, and that means that they're serious. So let's be serious with them.
All right. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of Journalism here within our community, the one and only Cheryl Smith, and of course, civil rights icon and civil rights leader Arthur Fleming coming with us. And of course, also want to thank Dr. Dralvis Edwards, the owner operator there of the Mercedes Avenue Urgent Care, for spending a little time with us right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Write it down. Give a listen to this radio station. If you just want to get away from the cares of this world, the great gospel music will certainly minister to your soul. We also want to thank a lot of our businesses, Golden Gate Funeral Home, John Beckwith. We want to thank you and many others who are working with us right here at www.theupliftlive.com. I want to thank our staff, their owners and operators, Deontay Graham and the First Lady there. We certainly thank all of you for being with us. Well, look, I'm Robert Ashley, and you've been listening to The Review. And we're with you each and every Saturday morning from 10 until about 11:30, 12 or something of that sort, but we're going to have it fluctuated. But we certainly thank you for being with us. I'm Robert Ashley. We'll see you. I want you to have a blessed day.